Hello and welcome to the next episode of Coffee Journey. My name is David and I'm the Australian Sales Manager for Project Origin. Today we're going to talk about all things processing.
We will look at what defines the common and the traditional processing methods, how different origins approach them and why, including harvesting processes and which origins favour different processing methods.
Let's start with understanding the traditional processing methods. The way coffee is processed plays a large role on the final cup profile. There are several different methods used, but most of them stem from three traditional processing methods: washed, honey, and natural. There are many similarities between these methods, but there are some key differences that really make each method unique.
In the washed or wet process, coffee cherries are harvested when perfectly ripe, usually depulped that same day. They then go into the fermentation tank, either submerged in water or open to the air with no water.
Once fermentation is complete, the coffee is removed from the tank and washed thoroughly to clean all the remaining mucilage from the bean.
What is mucilage? Mucilage, or the inner mesocarp, refers to the flesh of the coffee cherry in between the pulp and the parchment, and is most commonly referred to during the processing stage. Okay, back to it.
The beans should be that beautifully yellow colour. It is then laid out to dry, which typically takes 10 to 18 days, depending on the climate, altitude, until the moisture content has reached 10 to 12%, and the beans can be stored in their parchment until they are exported.
We can expect beautiful, clean, and vibrant flavours from washed coffees, usually with a light to medium body, clarity, and high acidity compared to other processing methods.
The honey process is very similar to the wash process, except for one major detail. Like the washed method, cherries are picked when perfectly ripe and they are depulped, but only the skin of the coffee cherry is removed, leaving the mucilage intact and still stuck to the beans. The beans are then taken straight to the drying beds. This results in coffee beans looking a little discoloured when laid out to dry. The remaining mucilage allows for extra flavour absorption during the drying stage.
You may be familiar with seeing different coloured honeys on your coffee labels. Red honey, yellow honey, black honey.
Often refer to the colour of the beans once the drying is completed, and caused by the amount of mucilage that the producer chooses to leave attached. It could be 10% of the original mucilage, it could be 80%. The more mucilage is left, the darker the colour.
We can expect a range of profiles from honey coffee. A lighter honey will provide a bit more body and depth than a washed coffee, while darker honey will resemble the natural profile, but perhaps a little more refined. Honeyed coffees are often complex, sweet, and round. In the natural or dry process, the coffee cherries are harvested when perfectly ripe. They are hand sorted for over and underripe cherries and moved straight to the drying beds as whole cherries.
In the natural process, cherries undergo their fermentation stage on the drying beds,
and so they need to be rotated and turned regularly during this drying process to ensure even drying, as well as to avoid any mold contamination. The cherries continue to be sorted by hand on the drying beds to remove any over or underripe cherries, and they typically take between 20 to 35 days to dry out to a moisture content of 10 to 12%.
When they are finally dried, natural coffees remain in their dried cherry pods for storage until they are ready for exporting.
The natural profiles are bold, big-bodied, sweet, and robust.
Once we establish where these differences lie, we can then begin to explore some more experimental processing technique. We won't be divulging too far into this topic on this video. We will another time.
Some of the more experimental processing techniques you will find from us at Project Origin include supernatural and carbonic maceration, where we play with the fermentation stage and the drying stage in order to broaden the range of profiles.
If you like this video, be sure to subscribe to our channel, and please let us know if you've learned something by giving us a like or even a dislike down below. Thanks for watching episode 5 of our Coffee Journey series, and stay tuned for our next video.